because essentially we have three choices. Either we're going to excel and grow or stay the same, or we're gonna shrink. And there's a lot of people with the challenges in life happening right now and seeing what's happening with the economy and politics and stuff. They're saying they're throwing in the towel and they're saying, you know, I'm okay if things get worse. I'm expecting it. So they're actually planning on going down. And there's ones that are planning on going up and growing, which is awesome because it's a scientific fact. If you're not growing, you're dying. But the thing is that throws a lot of people off is if they're planning on staying the same, you're automatically going to be pulled down, right? So the choice to stay the same in mediocrity is the choice to die.
Welcome to the December 2023 edition of our Legacy Magazine podcast, Wisdom of the Men, sponsored by Legacy Mentor, Discover, and Inspire. Find out more by visiting mentordiscoveredinspire.org or visit us at legacymag.org. This issue, we are having an intimate conversation with the past winners of Legacy Magazine MDI Man of the Year, to discuss what it is to step forward into doing something great. My name is Justin LaBarge. I'm the publisher of Legacy Magazine and co-hosting with my partner in crime, James Anthony Ellis, the editor. Ellis, why don't you take it?
Yeah, so welcome everyone. It's so great to be in the company here of these Men of the Year. We are here to actually celebrate and actually talk about some of the insights these men have had around causing greatness. Now, if you audience members have never heard the phrase "to cause greatness," I'm going to read you a mission statement of MDI, Mentor, Discover, Inspire, the organization Mr. LaBarge was talking about. It's an international men's organization. And here's the mission statement: to cause greatness by mentoring men to live with excellence, and as mature masculine leaders, create successful families, careers, and communities. And just so the audience knows, these men have are all doing that. And they did it so well in the past that they were actually honored as Men of the Year by the Legacy Magazine. And so basically, just to give an idea of what happens here, since 2014, we've had the Legacy Magazine MDI Man of the Year. And that's the man who lives the mission and core values of MDI, as well as promote the organization in some public way. Okay, that was the important part that makes it part of the Legacy Magazine. It's a public magazine, and it does promote MDI and the great works of men and masculinity. So these men represent that. You know, they've lived the mission and core values of MDI. They show up as an example of successful families, careers, and communities, and they do promote MDI in some public way. So if it's okay, LaBarge, I'm just going to introduce our panel here.
Please do.
Mr. Jeff Lawrence. He got the award in 2015. He's a professional team builder and leader who causes greatness by connecting with people and God through trusting relationships. He's been an active member and leader in MDI since joining in July 2007. There's Mr. Lawrence. Eric Mortimer. He got the award in 2018. He's a high-performance coach who helps men increase their productivity without sacrificing balance. He helps others be more, do more, and suck less. I love that. Erfan Ahmadi. He won last year. He's a father, son, husband, friend, and mentor. He's been a member of MDI since 2020. He works as a senior manager in self-driving vehicles industry. Maybe we'll talk about that. His interests include house music, camping, nature, and being a self-help book junkie. And then I want to also introduce Ashanti Branch. He was our first winner of the award, 2014. He's an engineer, educator, and entrepreneur, and he's the founder of the Ever Forward Club. Look that up. And the global #Million Mask movement. He's been a member of MDI since 2010. I want to welcome these men and just so appreciate you being here. being men of the year, and then also sharing your insight and wisdom with the rest of the men. So go ahead, LaBarge, take it away.
Okay, so our first question, why don't we do it in the same order as you were introduced? And essentially the question is, tell us the story of what actions you took that had you be nominated and have you win. Let's hear your version of how you won. So Lawrence.
And it's kind of one of those things that I don't know that I even knew I was nominated actually until much later. But I think that, you know, it goes back a bit, you know, like I grew up, I was the oldest in a family of four. I was seeking attention and approval from my dad, probably a very similar story to a lot of men, but never really got that approval. So spent my whole life like stacking success on success, trying to prove to him and maybe to myself that I was worthy, kind of thing. And it wasn't until after I joined MDI, did my men's weekend, did my legacy discovery and whatnot, that I actually kind of approached my father and just, you know, thanked him for, I turned out okay, despite of all, you know, all the things that I thought I somehow had missed in my relationship with him. And as it turned out, he had kept a scrapbook, and it was just an awesome like tribute, I guess, to all the successes I've had in my life. And I had no idea that that even existed. And it allowed me to kind of stop doing it for him and really do it for myself. And I think that year was sort of a year where all of that exercise, all of that stacking of different things kind of came together. And I mean, I was, you know, really hitting it off on business. I had a bunch of cigar stores all over Canada, or all over Western Canada. I was in a bunch of newspapers for sporting events and things like that. I hosted a man event where we had the very first 100 men ever to come to a MDI man event to one little town in Calgary. You know, there's a lot of things. I was involved in a bunch of charities on a couple of boards, and you know, created a charity. We donated you know, a ton of money to local charities in called Airdrie Dads, where I lived. I even won Man of the Year in Airdrie that year. So it was just one of those things where everything came together that particular year. And I mean, you're not doing it looking to become Man of the Year, but it is certainly sweet when somebody recognizes it. And I think when I stopped trying to be recognized by my dad, others maybe stepped into that place and kind of showed me the love. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but
Yeah,
that's kind of what I got.
Yeah, I remember we called him Mr. Media those years. He was always in the media, he always showed up. Great. Awesome.
There's something going on. Yeah.
So Mortimer, let's hear your story.
Similar to Jeff, I had no idea I was even nominated or what the scoop was, and just
That's
hearing
the
from
best
Jim
part.
now what the criteria is, I can probably guess what the reasoning is here, especially hearing the last bit about the public promotion. I think that was probably the big thing that topped it off when I took over. We were shrinking. We were down to as low as 22 and got up to 27. I think a few more joined so they could vote for the DC election, and put together an amazing team. It really helps to have a amazing right-hand man and core team, and through them we were able to build the numbers up pretty good. We had some great events. We also had a man event over 100 men, and that's where we got a lot of the media as well. We got on national TV, newspaper, and radio, and it's pretty cool now. Actually, the radio person that interviewed me on the radio is Danielle Smith, and she's now the premier of her province. So we'll have that little piece of legacy there. If you haven't heard the interview, go back and check it out. It's one of those things that I said that's really cool, actually. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. So jumping up in the results, and did things a little bit differently for filling up events. And the legacy discovery, we put on an event, and I, as you call in the coaching industry, selling from the stage, and did a selling from the stage for the legacy discovery, and signed up 20 men in one evening for a legacy, and just did things a little bit different. Kind of brought the business of personal growth to we ran things. But I think the biggest reason was having an amazing leadership team. And Jeff was the chairman of the board at the time, and Tomlinson was the president, and I think they kind of just said, Moore wants to do something, go for it, let him do it, get her the money.
You definitely had an open checkbook. Let's get her done. And he did it.
Excellent. Thank you, Mortimer. So next is Ahmadi. Tell us your story.
Yeah, I'll sound like a shadow board of the rest of them, and I didn't know that I was being nominated. And I remember getting a call from a buddy of mine. He's like, "Hey, congratulations, but don't let it get to your head." I was like, "Don't let what get to my head?" He's like, "You were man of the year." And I was like, "What does that mean? What does that mean? I'm the man of the year?" You know? So I like, and I was sitting there battling that with myself, like, you know, what does that actually mean? And I had this conversation with the men that had nominated me. Apparently, like there was a bunch of them, and they're like, "Man, you're just like influential and all that stuff." And whenever I hear that term influential, I automatically hate of all these influential Facebook and Instagrammers come in my. I'm like, God, I hate those people. You know, they're like, no, you actually actively carry it. You know, and so we had that conversation around like man of the year. So what is a man, right? And I was like, what makes me a man in your eyes, right? And so we had the conversation around masculinity and what masculinity means. And to me, it means protecting, providing, nurturing, bringing masculine wisdom and fortitude, decisiveness, accountability, all those pieces. And they said, you know, this is where I gathered all of that. They're like, you carry all those values within you, and you bring that to your surrounding. And I realized that, like, you know, when I was in Rwanda, I got somebody interested in MDI, and they're a part of MDI, all the way to Europe, all the way to like America, right? So I realized that MDI is a value that I carry around me, and masculinity is what I'd like to promote for the boys to become men, and they cannot do that alone. They have to do that in a unit, and that's what MDI is to me. So yeah, I guess that's what brought the whole vote of the man of the year.
And is there any, do you want to relate any of like sort of the facts, like what were the accomplishments that where those values showed up?
I mean, I guess the bringing 12 men to the Legacy Discovery was one of them. You know, stepping in as a leader when I had a 5-month pregnant wife. And I actually gave that reason not to do that, not to be a team lead. And then I realized that I was actually like being a slippery fish, and I was cheating myself for not doing that when I knew that I had it in me, you know, to just get a bigger plate, man. You know, so that was another one. I think that all the businesses that I've been like on top of my main gig, you know, I have a bunch of other businesses that I help. From a pharmaceutical company in Africa to a property management company to a commercial AC company to my main gig, you know, and the men just constantly said, like, when do you sleep? When do you? So it wasn't necessarily achievements, rather the way that I try to do things for other people, you know, and I don't look at it as the success of other people, giving it away, paying it forward is, I guess, a part of the achievements that is a reflection of that.
Excellent. Thank you. And Branch, let's hear your story.
Yeah, you know, I think the first year I remember, so I joined MDI in 2010. I was a teacher, running a nonprofit, running this organization called Ever Forward. I think in my life I had been missing my own circle. I was creating a circle for young men, and I didn't even have one for myself. And it wasn't until I came to my first meeting that I was like, this is what I've been trying to build for these young men. And I had never even seen it in action. And so it was from that first meeting of like, I need more of this in my life, to joining. And I had already been running this nonprofit. So I was a teacher running this on the side. It wasn't really running as a nonprofit. I was just a teacher doing this thing on the weekends after school. And the men got involved. That first year, 2011, it helped with the 24-hour relay challenge, a 24-hour event. And so those next 3 years, the men in our division was like taking on this work of really making sure the relay was successful. 2011, 2012, 2013. Hundreds of students were spending the night on this football field, walking and running for 24 hours. And it was beautiful. And men were volunteering to make those events happen. And then when we heard about it, I think the Western region had decided, Western region at the time was like, we want to make sure that all the divisions in the Western region at least nominate one man. I think it was like our division is one of the divisions, is a division that Kurt Thorne was from, and he was a big name, but I think you had to be alive still, I think, to one of the rules in the first year. So I think some of the men wanted to nominate Thorne, and they were like, well, he should be alive right now. And so they were like, well, who we're going to nominate? And so the men asked, could they nominate me? And I was like, sure. And I didn't expect to get it. I was like, I'm new here. I'm just doing the work I already been doing before I came here. I'm just I get more help to do this work now. I know what it's like to be able to have help. I don't think I ever trusted men in my life. Like, I never had men in my life I could really trust, you know, my grandfather, my uncle, those people. But outside of that, I didn't trust men in my life. And so finally having a circle of men that I could go to, not only for what I needed socially and emotionally, but that they cared about what I cared about and they wanted to help me be better. I had never had that. And so, I was like, sure, I would love, thank you. I'm honored that you were willing to nominate me. And I kept moving on with the work I was doing. And then when we found out that I had won it, one of our men, his name is Collard. He's a glass maker. He does these amazing glass pieces. And they found out before I found out. So they came to the meeting and he created this piece of glass art that I still cherish. And it said Man of the Year, MDI, Western Region.
Wow.
And so it was like one of those things where, we found out through the channels that they found out through the channels, and then they made this piece of art that was really meaningful to me. And I was like, wow. And I think, that was my fourth year here. And I think I have just continued to do the work. It wasn't a thing of like, all right, now you're done. It was like, now let's keep doing the work. And so I've been honored to every year I hear about the new man, I send them a text or an email if I can get their information and say congratulations. But I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Branch, I remember the whole process of you were our first part of the first year we brought this award, and Ellis and I were invested in doing the due diligence and trusting the process that we had put in front of us, wondering how on earth are we going to find out who this man is, until we saw the case that the men made for you, and we were like, oh yeah, we just know in your gut. So yeah. It was a lesson for us, as well as I'm glad it means a lot for you. So Branch, thanks for telling us your story. Ellis, I'm going to pass the ball.
Yeah. Thank all of you for telling your story. That makes it really a rich foundation of where we're going. And I can't help but think that the audience that's watching this, they may be saying what I'm saying, is that every single one of you has a spark, something. You've gotten in touch with something. And I want to tie that into the mission statement about causing greatness. All right. So knowing MDI is about causing greatness. You men have done that. For our audience, tell us, what do you actually do? What actions do you take to cause greatness in your life and in other people's lives? And whoever's ready to go, just go. What do you actually do to cause greatness?
Cool. I'll go. I'm already fired up. So
you go, man.
So I started this mentoring program. I was a first-year teacher. I never wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be rich. That was my plan. And life has a way of throwing you things that are like, yeah, maybe that's what you thought you were going to do. Something else is calling you. And I think I feel emotionally, socially, and service-wise richer than I think I ever could have. And I think I run this mentoring program. We started with young men in my school who were very brilliant and smart, but they were failing. I was a math teacher. I love math. And I had a lot of young men, not only did they hate math, they hated school, they hated everything, right? So, it's a battle if a teacher who likes math and who's kind of a nerd who wants you to do good, and you don't want to do good at nothing, or you believe you're not good at anything. No one's ever told you that you could be good at something. And so I think I've learned that my work of causing greatness is helping young people see the gold inside of themselves. No matter what there's this type of I don't want to get the culture wrong, but there's a type of art that exists that when a crack happens in the art, they fill the cracks with gold. And I tell young people in my work, I said, you know, whatever you've been through, whatever challenges you faced, that you're still here. And so you've been mended through the hard times. You've been forged through difficulties. And so I try and build greatness through helping young people see that their challenges have just made them stronger, and that they are here for a purpose. And if they don't know it, if no one in their life has ever told them, then I try and be the first one. And if I'm not second or third or the 100th, then I want to keep reminding them till they believe it. And so that's our work. That's our main work through the Ever Forward Club and through the Million Mask Movement. Our goal is reminding people all over the world that there's more to you than people can see by looking at you. We often judge people by the outside. I mean, when I joined that men's team, that first team, there was only maybe 2 black men in that circle. I was about to leave that park. I'm telling you, I was like, what they got me up in here in this park in the middle of these trees with a fire in the middle? I am out of here. And if it wasn't for the heart of those men, it wasn't about what they looked like. It was a place of knowing that they saw me, that I was heard, that I was held in special regard. And I try and do that for young people all over the world through this movement of like, there's more to you than people can see. And sometimes we judge people from their outside, but we only judge what they let us see. And if we've ever been judged before, we know that people are judging what they think they see. And so that's our goal around the world, is reminding people that. So that's what I try and do to create greatness. So thank you for asking the question.
That's great. Thank you for that. Yeah, causing greatness is when I first heard the mission statement, we cause greatness. It's like, what does that look like? So it's kind of a challenging question, but who's ready to go next? Like, what do you actually do to cause greatness in yourself and others? Is anyone ready?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it next. You know, it's interesting because hearing Shanti talk about this, like for me, causing greatness, there's no metrics behind it because it's such a profound thing, right? Like you can't be like metrics associated with like how many men we have in this organization, whatever. There's no, you know, we were having this conversation on the board of directors the day before yesterday. But what's interesting is, for me, I am a visionary and I believe in people, right? And so think about it like this: like if somebody turns to you and says, "Yo, here's $1 billion," what do you do with that money? After you get over I bought my, I buy myself a bunch of toys, I travel, experience things, eat good, dress good, whatever. Eventually, you get to a point where like I'll buy my mom things and my dad things, and then my friends, and then my men, and then you start giving all that thing away, right? Like, because at the end of it, you've done so much for yourself. So for me, it's not about money, rather it's my time, right? And like what I believe in people and how I invest my time speaking to them or seeing barriers that they don't see and how you could be able to remove those barriers, right? And that to me is how I cause greatness. And that sounds so pretentious. I don't know if I'm causing greatness or not, right? Like that's a very, but at least I like to believe that I believe in people. I look at people as like investments, right? Each and every single one of them is a stock, but this is like options. You could get in that beforehand and make them be successful companies. And the way you do that is remove barriers within them. And ultimately you're giving them confidence. They're like, yo, you got this, right? Here's the way that I see you have the ability to get to where you want to get to. And that's, you know, it might be a 30,000 foot view of it, but that's the way that I look at it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like a coach. You know, you see successful teams, hockey teams, football teams, and they're causing greatness. Sometimes you can't even put your finger on it, but sometimes you can. So it's just interesting to take a look at it, right? So, so what about Lawrence or Mortimer? What either of you two have an answer for that?
Sure. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
I think one of the best things we can do is be an example of a life that works, rather than pointing things out and saying what people should do. So be the example is the first thing. And my purpose really guides me as well. My purpose is to be a guide for awakening creation, so that I honor my life in God. So if I don't feel like doing something, and I'm feeling lazy, and I'm reminded what my purpose is, that I'm a guide, that it's not just about me, that I got to get my ass going, my ass moving because people are watching, I know, Jim, you're following my journey to light on social media I'm doing, where I'm doing a weight loss and body challenge, and that's not just for me, that's to help inspire other people, and people are reaching out to me asking how I'm doing it. So to be the guide, I don't need to be the expert. I just need to be a few steps ahead on the path. And while I'm on there, I might turn around once in a while and either support somebody with a hand up or challenge them to go faster or go bigger or expand their vision. Shanti was talking about vision, and I think that's really important to help people create a vision and also expand the vision, because so many people have such small vision. They're capable of a lot more, and when they expand that vision and they believe that they can actually do it, it's pretty amazing what they can accomplish in a year or 90 days even.
That's awesome. Wow. Thanks, Mortimer. That's awesome. Mr. Lawrence looks ready.
Oh, you know what? I figured I'd go last, but you know, there's just so many things. I think somebody had, I don't even know who it was, but somebody mentioned too, is like, how do you know you're causing greatness? I think we do the best we can. And I've been blessed in this organization, and even maybe even before it, but certainly through this organization too. As I stepped up into different leadership roles, there was very powerful men that took me under their wing, and I learned from. So I think there's just so many great men that have led me to find my greatness, and I think that it's now my job to do the same. And I've been doing that for some time, and I'll continue to do that. But I think, you know, Mortimer's example about living on purpose is right on the money. And, you know, and living by example, exactly. Be an example of a man on purpose and inspire others to do the same. So I think that's a big part of it. But I'm gonna go back to a tattoo that I have on my wrist, and Mortimer can smile now because I got this from him. And it says, what's happening to me is happening for me. And I think that sometimes just reminding others that what's happening to them is happening for them. And that, you know, if you just, you know, find God's plan and then enjoy the journey, I think just the resistance is futile. You know, enjoy the journey, and you don't have to, it doesn't have to be that hard. And I have to keep this on here specifically because I keep forgetting. So I have to remind myself with my NFL playbook that, wait a minute, there's a lesson here. And the minute I figure out what that lesson is, the happier and, you know, less bitter I become. And I think if I can help others that are coming behind me, as Mortimer said, I don't have to have all the, I'm just gonna be one step in front of them. But if I can do that, then I give other men an opportunity, and not just men, but everyone in my circle an opportunity to find greatness as well. And I mean, I certainly don't feel like that I'm in greatness, but maybe there's moments of brilliance there somewhere, and I'll keep trying.